Attention all pharmacy industry professionals. This isn't your grandfather's podcast. This is...
What the hell are you talking about? Our grandfathers never even listened to podcasts. The internet wasn't even around.
Shut your pie hole. My grandfather loves podcasts, and so does my maca.
Your what?
This is the RX Rated Podcast, part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Did you say maca?
Put the fidget spinners away. Punch in the coordinates for the jump to light speed. And do or do not. There is no try.
What kind of asshat introduction is this?
The podcast dedicated to all the pharmacy professionals in this crazy sector of healthcare.
What was that?
The RX Rated Podcast.
Dude, seriously? You already said that 3 other times. This is bullshit.
Welcome to the RX Rated Podcast. This is Dr. Jeffrey Winger, and joining me as always is Dr. Maurice Robinson. How are you this fine evening, sir?
Bears made the playoffs, even though they lost. So I'm a little excited, but I kind of wanted them to not make the playoffs so everybody would get fired and we can get some change. That's what we need. That's what we need in pharmacy. We need everybody to just get fired and just bring in all new people.
Well, before we get into pharmacy, I'm glad you brought up the NFL. My Bills, I sent you the link. The Bills played their last game against the Dolphins today and just beat the shit out of them. We scored 56 points. I can't remember even the Jim Kelly guys of the 90s scoring 56 points. We did score 53 points in an AFC playoff championship game that brought us to that first Super Bowl, but 56 points, and our backup quarterback threw 2 touchdowns. It wasn't even Josh Allen the whole time. My defense, my boys are looking good. We are peaking at the perfect time. I'm excited.
I saw you guys when you made the playoffs. I think they landed at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like everybody in Buffalo was at the airport.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jesus. The Bills Mafia, we've got one of the best fan bases in the NFL. We love our team because that's all we've got in Buffalo. That's it. It's not like Dallas that has, big blonde hairdos and big skyscrapers, or Washington, D.C., who has the White House and Congress. No, Buffalo, all we have are the Bills. That's all we've got. So, yeah, our fans are crazy, crazy fans. And we swept the AFC East. I can't remember that ever happening. We beat the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots. Swept all 3 of them. That's just incredible. I'm thinking Super Bowl, baby. I'm pumped.
Well, sweeping the Patriots this year.
Oh, that's true. Without Brady, they're just a shell of themselves, but it feels good nonetheless. If they win the Super Bowl, my head is going to explode.
If they win the Super Bowl, then I say the chances of them winning the Super Bowl is about as good as CVS giving more hours.
Well, the good news is we're a super young team. It's only Josh Allen's 3rd year. We're going to be good for a long time.
I think you guys will go deep. The problem with him is sometimes he just gets loosey-goosey with that ball. So I could see you guys being in the AFC Championship. And
he does. He's like a gunslinger. He threw 2 interceptions today, but they're fun to watch. Name a team more fun and more exciting to watch. They're so unpredictable. It's really reminiscent of those early 90s teams with Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith. We're getting that good. In fact, we've broken some of their records. It's incredible what's happening. I just wish I was in Buffalo to enjoy it. I heard Andrew Cuomo is actually going to let fans go to the game. He's going to lift his thing on attendance because he wants to go. Fucking hypocrite, but whatever. We won't get into politics. How's your new doggy?
He's doing good. He's sitting here just staring at me.
Dogs are the best.
We're doing the potty training, so it's a little rough, but he's slowly starting to get. I put a bell on the back door, and he rings it when he's got to poop or pee, which is usually when my tired is at like 4 a.m. I hear that bell, ding, 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 ding.
I remember training my golden lab, who's he was a big boy from the get-go. So when he would have a mishap, it took a while to clean that goddamn mess. I can tell you, Jesus, that was some horrifying shit. No pun intended. Well, maybe pun is intended, but yeah, that's the rough period. Once they're trained, they're great though. He's a good boy now. And then before we get into the show, I just want to give a shout out to someone who consistently leaves comments on the videos that we post on YouTube. Name is Big Geo Babe. I think I'm saying that right. It's all one word. I just want to read real quick. She just consistently comments for us, and she's one of the few, so I wanted to give her a shout out. She says here, once again, you have hit the nail on the head. You touched on so many aspects of my typical workday. I thank you, gentlemen, as pharmacists. I am a long-term technician. I do what I can to deflect some of those issues from my pharmacists. It is amazing how these patients are so out of tune with how pharmacy life operates. You guys rock. Thank you. Such kind words. And then she says here, once again, you guys are on the money. I work with some really lazy people. They all want to act like they can do my job, but when given the opportunity to step up, they fall short. Not trying to toot my own horn, but toot, toot. They still have to ask me how to do basics they should really already know how to do. Don't try to wear my big girl britches when you clearly can't fill them out. Love you guys. Keep doing your podcasts and videos. P.S. Everything you said about this rigged and bogus election is so true. There are 2 movies you should see that would explain all of this COVID and election BS. Wag the Dog and Bicentennial Man. Enjoy. And lastly, she says, I just love you guys. You all are hysterically funny, but so absolutely correct on each topic. Speaking as someone who is literally on the drive-thru all day, you nailed this perfectly. We have posted signage of OTC meds we can sell through the drive-thru, and I've had people ask me to pull numerous front store items, and I just apologize and let them know they will have to come inside or order directly through the website. I loved your comments about lane 2, especially the one with the flu shot. OMG, I had someone come through recently that thought we did COVID testing in lane 2, haha. Common sense and common courtesy died when COVID exploded on the scene. I can tell she's young because common sense and common courtesy died way before COVID came onto the scene. The last few years, I have seen an uptick in people with a sense of entitlement. I would say the last few decades. But the amount of people who are self-absorbed is worse. They are extremely self-centered and have an attitude of, I'm more important than the patient before or after me. So once again, thank you. And I encourage everyone to leave comments. And if you do it consistently enough, I'll read them on the show. Give you a shout out.
Gosh, I love this.
There's also somebody who keeps commenting on my videos. Me so horny. Please stop commenting me so horny on my videos.
I just saw the one, I think you posted it today about the survey. I didn't realize you had posted that survey. So I'm glad you did. I think it was a 9-minute video talking about the results. That is some remarkable shit.
Yeah, it was a little crazy. Like if I could go back, I wish I would have just did it by state so you could send it to each, state board of pharmacy. Here you go, Iowa, or here you go, Illinois, or here you go, Texas. But
well, I told you that they're investigating my situation, and I probably shouldn't have done this, but I sent it to the lady at the board of pharmacy who has been reaching out to me. I just wanted her to see it. So she knows that I'm not alone. There's a lot of pharmacists who feel the exact same way I do. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea. But
yeah, they probably, I don't know, because when they called me, they told me that, a lot of times they get complaints, but they're all customer service based complaints where people complain and say they waited in line too long or, they were on hold, but they don't say exactly how that led to, them some harm or patient safety. So that's why I tried to make this survey.
Yeah.
So that it was crystal clear, how all of that leads to, patient harm. Because I know plenty of times of people who've tried to get transfers, but we've been so busy, they had to go like a week without their meds because they transfer everything over, but nobody had time to type it all out and get it all ready. So it just kind of sat in a pile to the side.
Yeah, especially if they have a partner like I used to who would pretend like he didn't know that these needed to be transferred. God, what an asshole.
Well, do the goddamn math.
I want to encourage more pharmacists and techs to reach out to your boards of pharmacy and complain about your working conditions. I don't know what kind of power they have over corporations, but they could probably influence them in some ways and say, look, you gotta provide your pharmacist with more help. Someone's gonna get killed if you keep doing this shit. So it's worth a call, an email, something. Speaking of that, let's get on the thing that, our bi-weekly complaint. Today we were gonna bitch about inventory, right? I was a staff pharmacist, so I didn't have a lot to do with that. You're gonna have to carry the load on this one, but I can talk about I was assigned expired C2s. My job was to go into the C2 cabinet and send back the expired C2s. And I always thought that was the pharmacy manager's job. I don't know why I do know why he delegated that to me, because he's a lazy POS, but that's an ordeal. It takes a lot of steps and paperwork, and you got to file this, and you got to wait for these forms to come, and then you got to send those forms, but keep a copy, because it's like just such a pain in the ass. I wish they would simplify the system so it's a little easier to do. What are your thoughts on returns and the inventory process as a manager?
Well, one, I hate returns in the fact that, like, if it has any markings on it, you can't take it back. So if someone puts a label on it and you can't get it off, then it's just stuck on your shelf. And I feel like I wish that was easier, because it's such a pain. I can't tell you how many different things I did to get that damn label off. I had Gooby Gone. I had a heat gun, which worked great. So you take the heat gun and it gets it off, but they told me that was a fire hazard. So they took that.
What?
Yeah.
I used to use the hairdryer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you get a hairdryer, that glue just disintegrates and it comes right off.
Yeah, they took it, but it's hard because it's hard to keep the same staff because people leave just because they hate retail, and trying to communicate to everybody like, don't put a label on it, just rubber band it, or it's just always inevitable. Somebody puts a label on something that somebody doesn't want, or gets something that someone doesn't pick up, and you can't return it. Or if somebody orders the wrong stuff, sometimes you have to actually have it in your pharmacy for a certain amount of time before you could return it. So that process was a pain. But once you got inventory and the right staff, it's not too bad. But that's the big caveat. Like, it's always turnover. Then just inventory was stupid. At first, when I first started being a manager, I took it serious because I figured people would look at the numbers. But like after 2 or 3 years of doing inventory and nobody ever like saying to me like, hey, your inventory was good or bad, I stopped taking it seriously. I really just, so you got to get all the stupid Mylars, right?
Yeah.
And you got to go through there. And that always takes 2 or 3 rounds because you always miss one and they don't print, or people forget to send it to the printer.
I used to make a lot of Mylars.
And then you got to get the random shit like the needles and the shit that's in some back corner so they can count that. And just the whole process leading up to it. We used to have a machine. So a week up into inventory, you weren't supposed to put drugs into it, but people still needed stuff out of the cell. So you're just like hand counting stuff that normally, the top 200 drugs were just hand counting. And I used to just estimate. I didn't pull all that stuff out and count, because it's crazy too, because we had a cell. They're like 200 items, and once you count all the pills that's in there and over there, it literally was like maybe a couple $100. I'm like, all these pills, this is all these pills are worth. The big thing was just the refrigerator stuff, because that's the high cost stuff, but just the whole process leading up to it, it just sucked. So, and the problem is you just don't have the staff, because you really need to have like extra people on top of your normal workflow to sit there and count the controls and do the Mylars and clean up and keep the pills nice. The bottles nice and even so they can come and count it. And I wish they would just do it quarterly, just have somebody come. I always said they should have quarterly people come and update the counts so that the counts were always correct.
Well, 2 things. I was also assigned the refrigerator, and you would pull ahead. So let's say it's August. You would pull all the way up till November or December, but you didn't want to take them out of the refrigerator because, hey, someone might come in with a prescription and, oh, good, we get to get rid of that shit. So how would you do that, where you would pull something that's quote unquote expiring soon, but you didn't want to take it out of the refrigerator because then it's definitely gone bad? Would you just wait till the last minute or something?
No, I just pulled ahead, because the worst thing you could do, especially like with those vaccines, is somebody gets something that was expired because someone didn't pull it, and whether it be insulin. So I just pulled it. Like I said, with the inventory, nobody ever said, oh, your inventory is bad, your inventory is good. It's kind of like inventory came and went. So I really didn't worry about how much loss we had. If something was about to expire, I'd just either salvage it or send it back if I could. Most of it I just tried to send back, so it didn't even get to that point.
My goofy partner had a policy where we would count all the controls, C5 through C2, and we would put a stick of tape over the bottle with the number in there. And he wanted us to maintain that constantly all year long instead of waiting, a few weeks before inventory and just counting everything. So we had to constantly keep maintaining the number of pills in there, which just seemed like a fool's errand. Like, this is a pain in the ass. It's time consuming. It's not going to be accurate as shit because you're going to have floaters. If one of us takes a day off or is sick or something, the floaters aren't going to maintain those numbers. So it seemed like a meaningless task to me. Like, why are we doing this? This is a pain in the ass. Let's just count it pre-inventory, a few weeks ahead of time, but to maintain it all year round. Does that sound insane to you, or am I being a whiny bitch?
No, that just seems insane.
Yeah, exactly. That sums him up in a nutshell. He was an insane person.
I posted this thing that I guess CVS has. The course name is Take a Deep Breath and Manage Your Stress. So CVS's definition of stress, according to their Learn That stress relief module, it says stress is produced by your own feelings and reactions to certain external events rather than by the events themselves.
I saw that, and I found that remarkable. Like, it's not us, it's you. You're only stressed out because you feel stressed out. It's not the fact that you're shorthanded and we're piling on the responsibilities and we're measuring metrics and you're going to be graded according to those metrics. And forget the fact that you have to counsel patients and answer the phone and make transfers and call the doctor's office every time the nurse writes a prescription. Doesn't make any sense. And by the way, your tech is sick, so now you got to run the register and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, you're stressed out because it's all in your mind. Like, fuck you, CVS. Fuck all you corporate assholes who think it's our own fault that we're stressed out. You guys are cutting corners. That's why I keep saying eventually we're going to have to unionize because this is just madness. Am I wrong?
No, it's just madness. And the crazy thing is I'm going back to help them give COVID shots because they keep emailing me, talking about we need heroes like you. So I'm like, when else can I be a hero in my lifetime? My only shot to be a hero. And then it was like, we pay you $51 an hour. And I'm like, I don't want to be a hero no more. How much do superheroes make? Maybe I'll be a superhero.
I know. I keep, every day that I'm out there with my new gig, I'm thinking, well, I'm only making $19.06 an hour. But you know what? I'm out here. It's a beautiful day. I'm driving by little lakes and I'm watching Canadian geese fly by and I'm just delivering parcels to people's doors and they're leaving trees. I wouldn't believe, you couldn't believe how many people, I would say out of every 20 houses I deliver a package to, there's a little basket that says, Dear FedEx, UPS, and USPS drivers, thank you for so much you do. And there's little bottles of water and little Dorito bags and little Oreo cookies and just little stuff that are like, hey, help yourself, thank you. And I feed off that shit all day long. Things I would never normally eat, but I'm like, well, shit, it's free. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. It's not like I can stop at Walgreens or a McDonald's drive-thru and get some food. I'm on the clock, but thank you to all those people out there. Cause it never occurred to me to do that, but I'm going to start doing that now. Like, especially during the holidays when UPS and FedEx and all these guys are delivering shit, I'm going to leave a little basket out there with a little thank you note and give them some sustenance to get them through their day. Because it is physically demanding. I'm running up and down stairs all day long, and I get home, I'm so goddamn tired, I don't even go to the gym. I'm like, shit, I already worked out. There's no need to go to the gym. I'm too fucking tired. But yeah, I love this gig. It's beautiful.
Nice.
I'm making 1/3 of what I was making with not even 1/10 of the stress. There's almost no stress involved. It's awesome.
You probably will pay a lot less in taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. I get to keep more of what I make. The more you make, the more they take. So screw it. I'll let my girlfriend do the heavy lifting.
In my football, I started off the football season with $100, and I ended up week 17. I actually won a few dollars, but all I put was $100, and I got $100 up to $852.27.
Okay, stop everything. Tell me what you're playing. I want to write this down.
They actually, what they do is they have these. So my strategy is they have these odds, right? So like the Bills were probably favored. I don't know if the Bills were favored or underdog because nobody knew if.
Is this DraftKings? What is this?
No, this is just actual gambling. I mean, it's a big thing. I have to buy Bitcoin transfer the Bitcoin to one app to another app just to, avoid some things. And then when you win, you got to transfer the Bitcoin, convert that to cash, send that to PayPal into the bank. So it looks like a PayPal transaction. But after that, past all that, so basically, let's say like the Saints over Carolina, the Saints were favored to win by 6. So if the Saints win by 6 or more, you win.
Wow.
So they have this thing, if you pick 4 different games, they give you a 13-point leeway. So I would pick 4 teams that I'm pretty sure they could win, but all they had to do was lose by 7 points and I would still win because they gave you a 13-point leeway. And you had to risk $130 to win 100. So I just kept doing that. I'd risk $130, and a lot of times I would win $100. Some weeks I would lose, and just kept slowly doing that week after week after week. So now in the playoffs, I'm just gonna risk it all, just see if I could just double it for every round.
Is there a website? What is this?
I mean, now depending on the state you're in, you could just gamble legally. Except for here, if you do it this way, if you do it like the legal way, they make you pay taxes on it. Like they got apps called like Sportsbet, DraftKings. You can just gamble. The website I use, you can use Bravado or MyBookie, and just do it. But sometimes if you have transactions to an offshore gambling thing, then your bank will say it's an offshore gambling site and that's illegal. So that's why I do the Bitcoin thing. But you can just do it on now. It depends on what state you're in. You have to look it up, but gambling's legal in a lot of states now. So
it already sounds too confusing for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could have did something simple. I think the Bills were like, I don't know if they were underdogs or maybe they were favored, but if you would have put like $110 on them to win by at least 6 points, you would have won $100. Some people do risk 1,000 to win 1,000.
We won by 30 points today. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
and the Dolphins are 10-5. They're no like shitty team. They're a decent team, and we just shellacked them.
Yeah, a friend of mine put 3,000
wow
to win.
Wow, good for him. Anyway, so back to inventory. I have a note here that I wrote. We were going to talk about out of stocks and partials being released automatically. Can you speak more about that?
I mean, I know of one company that does that, but that's like the biggest thing why inventory is just thrown off, because you get stuff and you just don't have enough people to see, to go through the out of stocks and partials and release them,
That's another retarded thing that my former partner used to do. He would just, when the order came in, he would just release everything that was in out of stock, whether he knew it came in or not. And I'm like, why not check to see if it came in and then release it? Like, because we're just going to have to put it back into out of stock if it didn't come in. I never understood why he did. I guess he thought it was faster, but does that make sense to you? Don't you want to see if it came in first?
No. What I usually see, I used to just do it myself, depending on which tech was working. Usually my senior tech would take care of it, but like on my weekends, I would just go through them like before my shift or after my shift. So that was kind of like, I knew I would come in an hour early or stay an hour late on Saturday because we weren't getting an order, and just walk around the farm and say, okay, we actually have this. We actually have this.
Oh,
we actually
really?
have this. So like I would just do it every 2 weeks. So it would just kind of help cut that down. And plus I could tell, once it got past a certain number that we were probably just missing some things. So.
Okay, because he would do that shit every day, and it's just like you're burning leaflets. We're just gonna have to toss these leaflets. That's a waste of ink and paper.
It's better to leave it in there because a lot of times the patients will just show up, and that way you could go look at the shelf, like, oh, it actually did come in. Hold on.
Yeah, I never understood why he did the things he did. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. Jesus Christ.
I get a lot of messages from floaters that are floater pharmacists that want advice. And being a floater pharmacist is probably the worst thing ever.
Really?
Because first of all, especially when you close, when you walk in and like, let's say, for example, you have no text, they don't say anything to you. You just walk in and everybody's just, you're like, hey, how's it going? They're like,
isn't that the same thing if you're a staff pharmacist too? Like I walk in and I don't know what to expect as far as people calling in. If I work a 4 to 9 or 3 to 9 shift, I don't know what I'm walking into.
Well, usually when you're a staff pharmacist, you kind of like my staff, if somebody called off, like everybody, text it, hey, so-and-so called off, or I would let my staff pharmacist know, like, hey, so-and-so called off. I'm going to try to move a tech down. But usually when you float, they don't even tell you. You'll be doing a flu shot, checking somebody's blood pressure, and you come back out and everybody's gone. Or they give you like the worst techs that just don't know anything. And that you ask them something, where's the bags at when you're at that one? I don't know. Where's the reconstitutable drugs? I don't know. Like, what do you know?
My pharmacy manager would only look for tech help if he knew he was going to be short on his shift. If he knew I was going to be short on my shift, he didn't even make the effort. Like, screw him. And which is partially funny because despite the fact that I consistently had less tech help than him, I would always demolish him on the metrics. Every metric, the phone, who answers the phone fastest, who scans the most waiters in, promised wait time. I would defeat him every day. I probably got 10 months of metrics printed showing that I consistently beat him on every metric with less tech help. And I think that pissed him off, which is why he never made the effort to get me tech help when he knew someone was going to be sick or not show up, or even when they would say, look, I need a week off in August, and it was June, and he had months to prepare and to find tech help. He would never lift a finger because he knew that was my week, and who gives a shit? He was such a piece of garbage person. I still get mad to this day thinking about him.
I remember one time when I was floating, this one technician, she was brand new. She asked me so many questions. They had some Scotch tape. I put a line. I said, "Don't cross this line. If you got a fucking question, leave it on a sticky note for them tomorrow." She just kept coming over and asking me questions, and then, you can't get anything done. So I'm trying to do all the typing, all the filling, shit, all these questions. Like, just don't fucking cross that line, don't you?
That's why that video you did, like, I never do shit at work, was so goddamn funny because I've worked with technicians like that, and it's like, why are you even here?
Have you had the tech that just stares at you? Like, I had one tech when I was floating. I'd be on the phone trying to get a transfer. She would just be staring at me. And so I'm like, can I help you? And she's like, oh, yeah, I have a question, but just finish what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, well, you can't just sit here for 10 minutes. Like,
yeah, we're way too busy for anybody to be standing still. There is no standing still in retail pharmacy. I wanted to shout that out. Like, why are you just standing still? We're drowning in leaflets and paperwork and phone calls, and you're just standing there?
I remember one time it was like 9:00 and there was still like 40 to fill. So I'm trying to fill.
Oh my God.
And I got this sense that somebody was just fucking staring at me. So I turn around as this tech and I'm floating and I'm like, can I help you? She's like, yeah, I have a question, but you can finish filling. I was like, it's retail pharmacy. You never finish filling. I'll be fucking filling all night. Like, I was like, how long have you been standing there? She's like, about 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my
Jesus Christ. What's the longest you stayed after the pharmacy has closed?
Well, like during the holidays when the store would stay open till midnight, one time I stayed till 2 hours from 10 to 12 just to get kind of caught up because we were so busy because everybody needed their drugs during the holiday. So,
see, that's another thing. I was able to multitask enough and be organized enough and to manage my time well enough that I always got out right on time. And my partner would make such a mess on the counter because he would not put the bottles away as he was filling. He would let shit pile up. He would let the printer would print out these things that you would have to stick on the back of the hard copies. He would just roll those up, let them pile up. And at the end of the night, he would go through everything and he would keep the tech there from, they're supposed to get off at 9. He'd keep the tech there till 10:30 sometimes. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm out at 9. I get that shit done as soon as I can because I don't want to stay a second past 9 because I stopped getting paid at 9:00. I understand if you probably had a much busier farm. We were at a slow goddamn pharmacy and he would do this stuff. I was at a super slow pharmacy and I was able to get done on time because I never let things pile up. It's just about management. And plus, I would always go in 15 minutes early. I would show up at 8:45. I would do the delete list and the smart counts before we even opened. Sometimes he hadn't had those things completed when I would come in at 4 p.m. He was still doing portal calls. I would always get the portal calls done before 12 noon. I just went through all that shit because I wanted to get it done so I wouldn't have to stay. And he would just procrastinate and didn't know how to manage his time. He was disorganized and messy. Everybody knew it. My techs knew it. Everybody in the store, all the DMs knew it, the designated hitters. I don't understand. I wish I could go back and just be a fly on the wall and see how things are going now that I'm not there and I'm not there to clean up his messes. I just can't imagine what a clusterfuck it must be at this point. Do I sound bitter, by the way? It's just unbelievable to me that I'm the one that got let go when he's clearly the cancer in the pharmacy. Whatever. White privilege.
But you're happier now, so it all worked out.
Touche. Yes, I am much happy. I don't have anywhere near the stress and anxiety. I don't have trouble sleeping anymore. And with that, we will sign off and say thank you for listening. Keep the comments coming. And just remember, every prescription you fill is one more closer to retirement.
That is it.
Bye-bye.
Hello, it's your drug dealer. I thought I'd call in case you needed anything at all. You know, you can always call me just to talk, but I mostly want to sell you drugs. Drug dealer.